गोवर्धन की, ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की, द्वारका मथुरापुरी धाम की, पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई की, यमुना माई की, भक्ति देवी की, श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, always to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. हरे कृष्णा. सब लोग नीचे बैठ जाइए. अभी नरसिंह आरती होगा. कृपया सब नीचे बैठ जाइए. नमस्ते नरसिंहाय, नमस्ते नमस्ते नरसिंहाय, प्रहलाद लाद दायिने, प्रहलाद हिरण्यकशिपूर्वक्षः, 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 शिलटङ्कानखालये, शिलटङ्कानखालये, शिलटङ्कालये. इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह, इतो नरसिंह इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह, इतो हो यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह, यतो यतो यामि ततो, हो यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह, यतो यतो यामि. बहे नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह, बहे नरसिंह हृदय, बहे नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह, बहे नरसिंह नरसिंहमधिं शरणं प्रपदे, नरसिंहमधिं शरणं, नरसिंहमधिं शरणं प्रपदे, तव कर कमलवरे नखाम् अद्भुत सिंगाम्, दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभिङ्गाम्, केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे. तव कर कमलवरे अद्भुत सिंगाम्, कशिपु तनुभिङ्गाम्, केशवदिता नरहरि, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव, जय नरसिंहदेव, जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव, जय नरसिंहदेव, जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज, जय प्रहलाद महाराज, जय प्रहलाद महाराज महाराज,
Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. गौर प्रेमानंदे।
हरे कृष्णा। अभी यहाँ पे भगवत गीता पे प्रवचन होगा, तो ये प्रवचन अंग्रेजी में रहेगा। तो जो भी भक्त यहाँ पे है वो कृपया बैठ जाइए। अभी 5 मिनट में शुरू होगा, अभी शुरू होगा, 2 मिनट में शुरू होगा। हरे कृष्ण। कृपया नीचे बैठ जाइए, कृपया नीचे बैठ जाइए। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरावनचारी, यमुना तीरावनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नीताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नीताय गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय कलियुग पावन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Mirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing with our discussion on the Bhagavad Gita. We are on chapter 3, text number 1, beginning of the new chapter. 3.1 Arjuna Vacha Jayasi Chet Karmanaste Mata Buddhir Janardana Tatkim Karmani Ghore Mam Niyojayasi Keshava. Arjun said, O Janardan, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruity work? Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna has very elaborately described the constitution of the soul in the previous chapter, with a view to delivering his intimate friend Arjun from the ocean of material grief. And the path of realization has been recommended. Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place, where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public. Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi Yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga, or work in Krishna consciousness, in this 3rd chapter. So, this is the first verse of 3rd chapter. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. So Arjuna is asking, why are you engaging me in this ghastly warfare? So Arjuna has two options. Arjuna is thinking he has two options. Either fight or not fight. In the earlier second chapter, Krishna had spoken about Dure nahi avaram karma, buddhi yogad dhananjaya. Krishna has said, using your buddhi, you should stay away from avaram karma. Avaram karma means terrible activities, violent activities. Buddhi yoga dhananjaya. Buddhau sharanam anvichha kripana phalahetav. So Arjun thought fighting is what Krishna means as avaram karma. Krishna said, use your intelligence and stay away from horrible activities. So Arjun is thinking, horrible activity means fighting the war, and staying away from horrible activities means not fighting the war. Right? And later in the second chapter, Krishna talks about peace. How a person who is perfected in yoga practice, he attains peace. Krishna says, Apuryamanam achalapratishtham samudramapa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti nakamakami. Krishna says, just like an ocean, there are so many rivers entering the ocean. The ocean water remains still. Samudramapa pravishanti yadvat. So many rivers enter, but the ocean water remains still. And if the rivers go dry, still the ocean water remains still. So whether you have hundreds of rivers pouring water into the ocean, or whether there are no rivers pouring water into the ocean, ocean remains still. Similarly, Krishna says, a yogi's mind remains still. Although there are unlimited number of desires entering into his mind from all sources. From all sources, so many desires enter into his mind, but the yogi remains unaffected. He doesn't entertain those desires. Whether you get some good desire or bad desire, the yogi doesn't indulge in them. And therefore he is peaceful. Unlike people who are not practicing yoga, for every desire, they feel, every desire that I get, I should fulfill. And in this way, we remain agitated all the time. We see something, hear something, see an ad, see some poster, and we get, wow, this is so nice. Only if I could attain it, I could have it. So in this way, an ordinary person will run after fulfilling every desire. But what he doesn't realize is, trying to fulfill every desire leads to mind's agitation. He loses his peace. We think by fulfilling the desire, I'll become happy. But Krishna says, by running after, chasing after every desire, trying to fulfill them, will destroy peace. And not entertaining every desire is the secret to peace. And in the next verse, he said, Vihaya kaman yas sarvan pumam charati nispriha nirmamo nirahankara sashanti madhigacchati. Vihaya kama, by giving up all material desires, by giving up the false ego, sashanti madhigacchati, such a person attains peace. And where can you be, how can you be happy without peace? Krishna asks. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hyashu nasti buddhira yuktasa nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayata shantir ashantasya kutas sukham. If you don't experience a higher taste, ecstasy, how can you attain happiness? How can you attain peace? And without peace, how can you enjoy happiness? So in this way, repeatedly Krishna talks about peace, Shanti, towards the end of the second chapter. And earlier he said, you should fight. Second chapter earlier, he said, you should fight. So on one side, Krishna is telling you to fight, and now he is talking about Shanti, peace. So Arjuna is confused. What exactly Krishna wants me to do? Should I fight or should I go for Shanti? Because fighting means no Shanti. Fighting means killing, violence, war, destruction. Where is the question of Shanti in a war? And the only way you can get Shanti in a war is by going out of the war. Leave the battlefield. Then you are Shanti. You get Shanti. This is Arjuna's calculation. So therefore when Krishna said, first fight, and then you said Shanti, Arjuna is confused. करूँ क्या मैं? लड़ाई करूँ या नहीं करूँ? But our Acharya explained that Krishna is talking about a different Shanti and Arjuna is imagining a different Shanti. Arjuna is thinking of external peace. Arjuna's understanding or definition of peace is war means no peace and without war there is peace. Which is true to some extent. But Krishna is talking about internal peace. Whether there is externally war or not, internally you have to be peaceful. The mind has to be peaceful. And there could be someone, even though there is no war, still someone can be agitated, disturbed. Externally there could be fight, no fight, war, disease, epidemic, calamity, terrorism. Externally there could be peace or no peace, but still someone can be internally peaceful. And even if externally everything is nice, someone can still remain disturbed. So Krishna is talking about internal situation. He is not telling Arjuna to give up the fight. You have to fight. You have to perform your duty. But remain internally peaceful. So in this way, in this chapter, Krishna is going to talk about Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means you work with devotion. Work without attachment. So Arjuna is wanting work or give up. Should I engage in fight? Should I give up the fight? Work or renunciation? Because both cannot coexist according to Arjuna. If I am working, how can I be renounced? And if I am renounced, why should I work? So this is Arjuna's doubt. So Krishna is going to give the answer. You have to work with renunciation. Work in a renounced mindset. That is Karma Yoga. Sakam Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is also of two types. Sakam and Nishkam Karma Yoga. Sakam means you work, but then you want to enjoy the results of the work. Sakam Karma Yoga. And then there is Nishkam Karma Yoga. Whereas you work, but you are not attached to the results. If the results come, you may use it. The results don't come, you don't mind. Because you are more interested in the work itself. You are more interested in the duty, not in the result of karma. So that's a very higher level of Karma Yoga. Most of us, if at all we are practicing Karma Yoga, then we are Sakam Karma Yogis. Even Sakam Karma Yoga is a big thing. Krishna says in this later in the chapter, he says, if you cannot perform Karma Yoga, perform Karma Kand. What is Karma Kand? Karma Kand means there are several sections in the Vedic literature which tell you how one can do certain rituals and activities and sacrifices and penances and many other procedures by which you can enjoy prosperity in this world. So if I want to enjoy good health, then I should worship, I think, Surya. Surya Dev ki puja karo, you will enjoy good health, long life. If you want lot of wealth, worship Lakshmi or some other devatas. If you want a good husband or wife, worship Lord Shiva and Uma, Parvati. If you want good knowledge, you want to become a learned person, then worship who? Saraswati. And if you want to become famous, lot of likes on Facebook, then you worship someone else. I don't remember who. So for every material fulfillment, there is a procedure. Not that illegally somehow you manipulate data and then make your way through. And there are standard procedures given in Shastra. If you do this procedure and please a certain devata or a devi, by their blessings, by their grace, you get the desired object. If you try to bypass them and on your own we do something, that is not encouraged. So worship them and then follow the procedures. By their blessings you get. If you simply follow the procedure on your own without acknowledging the blessings of a superior authority, that is considered vikarma, sinful. But ultimately we get everything what we get from a higher source. That's a very important acknowledgement. It's not that we can get whatever I want simply by hard work. Hard work is one part. Blessings is the second part. Simply by hard work, without acknowledging the sanction of a higher authority, is a demonic mentality. And simply depending on authority, without working hard, that is also bad. So both are important. God helps those who help themselves, right? This is the saying goes. So we put our effort and follow the procedures to attract a higher grace, and then by the combination of our hard work and superior blessings, we become prosperous. We become happy in this world. That portion of the scripture which describes these procedures is known as Karma Kanda section of the Vedic literatures. And majority portion of the Vedic literatures is consisting of these things. Elaborate procedures to describe how someone can be happy in this world. So Vedas contain huge sections, thousands of verses. All are centered on how one can be happy and prosperous in this world. Majority of the section. This is how Vyasadeva compiled Vedic literatures. He wrote these Vedic literatures towards the end of Dwapara Yuga, just before Kali Yuga. The four Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranic literatures, and so many other supplementary literatures. Most of these writings were devoted to these things, Karma Kanda. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki. Devoted to Karma Kanda section. There was hardly any information available to direct the reader on how to come out of this whole thing. So Karma Kanda section, stay in this world, enjoy, again stay, enjoy. Not much information was given on how to escape the material world. Therefore, the Bhagavatam describes how Vyasadeva, in spite of compiling all these writings, he felt dissatisfied. Because you are not giving the clue to the conditioned living entities on how to escape this material world, which is the main purpose of the material world. How to get out of the material world. Just like if a prisoner enters a jail, you may instruct the prisoner how to be happy inside the jail. But if you don't tell him how to come out of the jail, then what is the use? Ultimately, the purpose of the jail is to reform and come out. But if you encourage the prisoner to stay inside only, and how to remain happy inside, then it is incomplete information, incomplete knowledge. That's what Vyasadeva also did. He is encouraging the living entities in the material world how to remain happy here. That is important, as long as you are in the jail. But someday, somewhere, you have to give the information secret, how to come out of the jail. Therefore, Narad Muni comes there to Vyasadeva and tells him, this is the reason why you are feeling dissatisfied. Therefore, write a book exclusively explaining the path of liberation, where you are simply describing the pure, blissful activities of Krishna and his devotees and their reciprocation. Because this is the secret. Hearing and discussing about Krishna's blissful activities with his devotees in his various incarnations, if a conditioned living entity repeatedly hears this, talks about it, discusses this, Macchitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charaman. This is, Krishna says, the secret method by which one can escape the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. Therefore, O Vyasadeva, you have not described this. Therefore, you are unhappy. So, coming back to Karma Kand, majority of the Vedic literature is talking about Karma Kand. So, Krishna says to Arjun, if you cannot perform Karma Yoga, either Nishkam or Sakam, perform Karma Kand. Which means you fight the war and enjoy heaven, enjoy the luxuries of this material world, come back again, do Karma Kand, again go. At least Swarg te jao, Swarg mein enjoy karo. So if you fight the war with the aim of promoting yourself to Swarga, you will get it. Fight the war, if you win the war, you enjoy the kingdom here. If you die in the war, you go to Swarga, which is the purpose of Karma Kand. है कि नहीं? कर्म कांड में ही बताते हैं, एंजॉय करो, स्वर्ग में जाओ, यहाँ जाओ, एंजॉय लाइफ इन दिस यूनिवर्स. But then he say later, better than karma kand is karma yoga. Because karma yoga, if you do it properly, you will be promoted beyond this material world. Any yoga means you are reconnecting yourself with God, with Supreme. So karma, through karma, done in the yoga mood, will liberate you from the cycle of birth and death. So that's what Krishna is going to describe in this chapter. How to perform karma yoga. So karma yoga term is highly misunderstood in today's life, in today's world. We use the karma yoga term as if it is a very simple thing. I am a karma yogi. दिन रात 10-12 घंटे काम करना है, and then they call yourself karma yogi. You slog in the office, hear all kinds of abuses, and that doesn't make oneself a karma yogi. Simply working hard doesn't make one a karma yogi. You may be, but there are additional features to it that makes us karma yogi. Are we dedicating the fruits of our work for a divine cause, for Krishna? If that is happening, then it is karma yoga. Simply working hard is not karma yoga. That is simply karma. And karma means reaction. Every action has a reaction. So simply performing karma doesn't make it yoga. There is an added element to it that makes it yoga. So that is what is going to be described in this chapter. How to perform karma yoga. So there are many examples in our scriptures that tell us how in the past, in history, people have become successful by performing karma yoga. In the same Mahabharata, we find, so this is before the war, right? Krishna talking Gita to Arjuna. After the war, something similar happened. So all the warriors were killed in 18 days. Both Pandavas and Kauravas, all the soldiers were killed except few, the 5 Pandavas and few others were alive. And then they go back to Hastinapur. They perform the Shraddha ceremony for everyone, for all the dead, departed ancestors and the fellow members. And finally, Yudhishthira has to be installed as the king. That was the whole purpose of the war, to make Yudhishthira the king. So they are sitting and discussing how it was such a ghastly war and so many people were killed. Everyone was lamenting the loss of lives and destruction of everything. And finally they said, okay, so now we have to install Yudhishthira as the king. Then Yudhishthira stands up and starts speaking. He says, I am alone the cause of so many deaths. Millions of people killed because of me. Just to make me the king, all these people had to die. This will lead to so much sinful reaction. If I enjoy this property as the king, after killing so many people, how can I be happy? In this way he gives a lot of reasons. And finally he says, I am not going to become the king. And he was serious. Not he was joking. He was really serious. I don't want to be the emperor of the world after killing so many people. Let Arjun become the king, or Bhima become the king, or someone else become the king. I am not going to become the king. So initially they thought he was joking. But then they realized he was serious. Yudhishthira was serious. He was really serious. Then what is the point in fighting the war? Duryodhana अच्छा rule कर रहा था. He could have continued king as the king. Why kill 18 days? He lost so many people for making Yudhishthira the king. And if he is not becoming the king, the whole purpose is wasted. So then everyone started speaking, wanting to encourage Yudhishthira. Arjun spoke. He said, don't worry, aisa sab nahi hai. You were not the cause. Ultimately Krishna was the cause. Duryodhana was the cause. Dhritarashtra was the cause. We tried our best to attain peace, avoid the war, but they didn't listen. And then he started quoting stories from various Puranas, how there was an ancient king who went through similar struggles and how he fought and he was promoted to heaven. All those stories. Trying to encourage Yudhishthira that you are not to be blamed. But Yudhishthira was not changed. Then Bhima spoke. He also spoke encouraging words. He also told some stories. How in the past there was this person who gave up the duty and therefore he had to suffer. If he would have followed his duty, he would have enjoyed. So similarly, don't run away from your duty. Follow the duty of ruling the king. In this way, everyone is trying to advise Yudhishthira. Nakul and Sahadev also spoke. Draupadi spoke. Everyone is speaking long talk. Evening, the whole night. Then all these people spoke. Then finally Krishna spoke. Like he spoke to Arjun, Krishna speaks to Yudhishthira. Still Yudhishthira was not convinced. Then Narad Muni, he spoke. He has much more experience. Vyasadeva spoke. Other rishis spoke. So in spite of hearing from all these great personalities, Yudhishthira is not convinced. And he is lamenting. He is not convinced to take up the responsibility of the emperor. So finally Vyasadeva says, only one person can convince you. Who is that? Bhishma, who is lying on the battlefield. Sharashayya pe, arrow, bed of arrows. He is lying there. You have to go to him, listen to his words of advice. That will pacify you. Tomorrow you should go after your installation ceremony. So next day, all of them go back to Kurukshetra, Hastinapur se Kurukshetra, long distance. And there they saw Bhishma, old man, lying on the battlefield on arrows. Kabhi hua tha, 10th day of the war, when Arjun fought with Bhishma. Since then, he is lying there. Several days. So all of them go in the royal dress and go in front of Bhishma, and they address him with all words of respect. And Bhishma sees them. Bhishma's dream was to see the Pandavas become the king since their childhood, because he knew the Kauravas are not qualified to become the king. They were all arrogant, sinful, adharmic. And here are qualified candidates to rule the world. Yudhishthira especially is Dharmaraj. But somehow he couldn't see in his lifetime. So towards the end of life, when the war happened, all these people got killed, and Yudhishthira is finally dressed in a royal attire. And now standing in front of him, the 5 Pandavas. So he is very happy, delighted to see them. Finally, my grandchildren have become the emperors, because they deserve it. So then Yudhishthira goes near him and starts asking questions on various topics. First he talks about his duty. What is my duty? Then Bhishma advises him how you are not responsible. Ultimately, everything is happening in this world by the supreme will of God. And that God is Krishna. Krishna has sanctioned this, everything. So, even if you wouldn't have wanted the war would have happened. Because it was Krishna's will. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. He wanted the war to happen, to re-establish the principles of religion. So we are just instruments in Krishna's hands. You became an instrument. You and the 5 brothers became instrument. So no one will blame you, and you will not incur sinful reactions. In this way he spoke encouraging words. And Yudhishthira went on to ask several other questions. How should I rule? The science of politics, science of diplomacy, the varnashram duties, how each varna and each ashram to perform their duties, and how one can ultimately, the whole society can move towards the ultimate goal of liberation. So society has to be divided into different classes, which now we call as a caste system. Earlier it was a class system, dividing society on the basis of qualities and activities, not based on birth, based on one's psychophysical nature, aptitudes. Accordingly, you allot a certain occupation to someone. And in that occupation, that person becomes happy and prosperous. When that class system is missing, then everyone has to study everything. Because you don't know what you are good at. Like in today's education system, every child has to study till 10th standard. 10 साल पसंद आए ना आए पढ़ना पड़ता है. After 10th, you get the option to choose different branches. Science, commerce, arts, something else. Then again study 2 years. And then again you get an option. Then 3 years or 4 years. Then again another option. Suppose at the end of 15, 16 years you realize, Arey, none of these was my interest. So why waste 15 years to understand this is my area of interest, subject of interest? If someone could have identified at the age of 5 such a person, so this student is good at painting, for example, then why study history, geography and biology and mathematics? Right from age 5 or 6, one can be trained in that area, right? So this is the ideal Varnashram system, where the teacher identifies the nature of the student and accordingly guides and educates the child. So that is the original Varnashram system. Today now we may say we are classless society, but then it's all khichdi. Everyone has to study everything and finally no one is happy. Everyone is frustrated and unemployment, joblessness is increasing. Because we get to know my nature at age 35. 35 people realize, oh, I should have studied this in my younger days. Then I would have been more successful. Anyway, so Bhishma was picking all these subjects to Yudhishthira and trying to guide him how to rule the kingdom. And in this way, guide the entire society towards the ultimate goal of liberation. So dividing the society into these classes was not simply to suppress them. Everyone is cooperating together, working in a unified fashion towards one single goal. Just like in an organization, in a company, there are so many departments. And the company has a vision, right? There is a vision, mission, value systems. All the employees, thousands of them, are working towards fulfilling the company's vision. Imagine if there is no vision and everyone is working their own thing, and the company won't go anywhere, right? Similarly, if a company can have a vision, why can't a society have a vision? Why can't the entire world have one common vision? And all members of the society, this world, every human being working towards that singular goal. Is it possible? Theoretically possible. And it was happening also at one point of time. When there is an ideal king who understands the vision of God, the purpose of human life, such a person can organize society in such a way that everyone works toward the same goal. And the purpose of education has to be creating awareness about this goal. Education is not simply meant to get a degree so that you can earn money and live. Earning money and living is secondary, that is important. But beyond that, life has a purpose. And that awareness should be given as part of education. When that is missing, everyone's ultimate goal becomes how to earn money and live happily. If I cannot earn money legally, I will encroach upon others' property and grab others' property. And then there is inequality. Some people who have power, they will earn too much money, others will be in poverty. There will be unequal distribution of wealth. Greed will overtake everyone. So that is the purpose of Varnashram. So Krishna wanted Yudhishthira and the Pandavas to become the king because he knew these are the ideal people who can lead the entire society towards the ultimate perfection of life. When you have a dharmic king ruling the country, then the society becomes peaceful. when the dharma element is missing in governance, then everyone, then there is constant unhealthy competition. Unhealthy competition among people, which will eventually lead to communal fights, which will escalate into regional wars, which will escalate into world wars. Which is what is happening. We are seeing all over the world, small little wars happening on the brink of a major war. So in this way, Bhishma advised Yudhishthir, and finally Yudhishthir was convinced that I should rule. And finally he took up the responsibility of ruling the kingdom. Similarly, we find the story of King Prataparudra. This story comes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Prataparudra was the king of Odisha. This is 500 years ago, when Lord Chaitanya was present physically on this planet. He was the king of Orissa and other regions of South India, Andhra Pradesh, those states. The rest of the country was ruled by Mughals. The king was Nawab Hussain Shah in Bengal and other parts of Western India. So Mughals had conquered a large portion of India, but this portion, East India and southern part of India, was ruled by this king known as Prataparudra. And he was a very nice religious, dharmic king. And when Lord Chaitanya came to Puri, Jagannath Puri, King Prataparudra was ruling. And this king went and wanted to dedicate his life to Lord Chaitanya's mission. He said, I want to give up my kingdom and I want to join full time as a sannyasi. But Lord Chaitanya advised, no, that is not a good idea. As a king, you have to rule according to the principles of dharma. Sannyas can be done later. This is not the right age. So in this way, Prataparudra facilitated. With his power and position and wealth, he would facilitate Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission. Because he was the king, his followers could establish the Sankirtan mission. This is what happens when you have ideal kings ruling the country who understand the principles of dharma. When the king is adharmic, then there is chaos. Similarly, we find the story of our Shivaji Maharaj in Maharashtra 200 years ago, 300 years ago. Shivaji, the Marathas are fighting with the Mughals, right? And the Maratha kingdom had expanded far east to the far west also. So one day Shivaji met the saint Ramdas, and Ramdas gave him a good piece of advice. And then he also said, you should meet Tukaram, Sant Tukaram. So Shivaji met Tukaram, and he was highly influenced by Tukaram's teachings. He actually gave him a lot of wealth and gold and other jewelries. Tukaram didn't accept any of those things. He said, I don't need all these things. I see jewelry and dust on the same level. Precious pieces of stone and ordinary stone, I see them on the same level. So I don't need your wealth. So Shivaji was highly impressed. And Shivaji wanted to give up the position of king and become a mendicant, a sannyasi. But Tukaram stopped him. He said, no. For you, the best duty is to rule. Rule the kingdom in such a way that dharma is followed. If you become like me, then who is the king who can take up this responsibility? So Shivaji followed his advice, and then we know how. So by the combination of Shivaji's rule and Tukaram's guidance, the whole land was ruled properly. So every ashram, every member of society has a responsibility. The Brahmanas guide the society, they are like the heads. Kshatriyas are like the arms that rule. The Vaishyas are like the belly who generate wealth, generate food and wealth. And the Shudras are like the supporting legs who can carry the entire body, social body, to its destination. So although it may appear that Shudras are the lowest, but they are equally important. The degraded caste system says Shudras are rejected members. They are not rejected originally. They may be lower on the body, but they have an equal contribution. This is how caste system has been misinterpreted and misrepresented. Saying that the Hindu society is discriminatory and unnecessarily abuses a certain section of people, exploits section of people, which may have happened to some extent, but that is not the original purpose of the divisions. The original purpose was to work together, combined, unitedly, with one common goal. So our history shows that when both of them, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, combine together, which is a very small population, then the entire society can remain happy and peaceful, and they can proceed towards the highest goal of life. So in this way, in this chapter, Krishna is talking about Karma Yoga. So these are examples of Karma Yogis, all these kings, whether it is Yudhishthir or Arjun or Prataparudra or Shivaji or many other such kings. They have demonstrated how one can adopt these principles in our life. Work in a mood of detachment, in a mood of devotion, not with a mood of attachment. Oh, I have a position, let me exploit. Grab as many resources as possible and enjoy. Like we have today's politicians. They have so much crores of rupees in Swiss banks, and here people are suffering poverty. So an ideal king will accumulate money. At the right time, they will disperse the funds for society's benefits. So in this way, Krishna is going to elaborate on this topic of Karma Yoga in this chapter. So we'll stop here for today. Thank you all for your kind attention. Any comments, any thoughts? Jai Srila Prabhupada ki